Hello, welcome to the Village of Tahsis Community Wildfire Protection Plan video. This is a video presentation that is supplementary to a formal report submitted to the Strathcona Regional District. The full report and maps can be downloaded from the SRD website for further reference. My name is Colin Philliter, and I'm a professional forester from Wildfire who helped write this report, along with my colleague Cynthia Liu, who is also a professional forester. In this presentation, we'll provide an overview of the Tahsis Community Wildfire Protection Plan, which is a 2020 update. We will review the results of the local wildfire threat and risk assessments, the application of the FireSmart program, and recommendations made in the 2020 update. Any relevant but yet incomplete recommendations that were made in the initial 2011 wildfire plan have been accounted for in the 2020 update. The Tahsis area of interest included in this plan is a 2-kilometer buffer around the village, known as the Wildland Urban Interface, or the WUI. This is marked on the map with a yellow boundary. Tahsis is located on the west coast of Vancouver Island, about 2.5 hours west of Campbell River by driving. It has a population of around 315 residents. Important infrastructure within the community includes a school, a village administrative office, a health clinic, a RCMP station, and a recreation center. The village of Tahsis has fire suppression coverage within the village boundary by a volunteer fire department. All maps in this presentation have high-resolution files included in the final deliverables for this report. As part of this Community Wildfire Protection Plan, we conducted the suggested local wildfire threat assessment that was developed by BC Wildfire. This assessment is based on spatial GIS analysis using mapping programs and a number of different factors to calculate the threat. The threat is basically the likelihood of a fire occurring. The fuel type around the community has a large impact on the threat score. Fuel type influences the head fire intensity, which is the energy or heat intensity of a fire. Fuel type also influences the spotting impact, which is the ability for the wildfire to spread to adjacent areas. Wildfire threat is also based on the historically recorded fire density in the area, from both human-caused as well as lightning-caused ignitions. Based on our spatial analysis, the area of interest was classified into threat classes, ranging from no threat, such as water, to extreme threat. Most of the area around Tahsis was calculated to have moderate threat, shown in yellow on the map. There are a few pockets of high threat as well, which are shown as orange. Recent wildfires within the study area include a 43-hectare wildfire that occurred in 2018. This was a lightning-caused ignition on CPC Mountain, 2 kilometers to the southwest of the village. After we calculated the threat score, the next step is a local wildfire risk classification. Again, this calculation is conducted by parameters developed by the BC Wildfire Service. It was done in GIS with multiple factors. The risk class is based on wildfire threat that we just discussed, proximity of the community to the threat, fire spread patterns by localized wind patterns, as well as slope position and slope percentage. It should be noted that proximity has a significant impact on the risk. Fuels that are 100 meters might be a higher risk than the same fuel type that might be 500 or a kilometer meters away from the community. The area of interest is classified into risk categories from low to extreme. Moderate risk, in yellow on this map, is the most common throughout the AOI. High-risk areas tend to be closer to infrastructures in the community. The red outline on the map shows an area called the Wildland Urban Interface 100, the WUI 100, and this is the closest 100 meters surrounding the clusters of structures in the village. Fuels within 100 meters of the structures, or the WUI 500, are generally the moderate to high risk. The FireSmart program is a national initiative to provide communities, property owners, and residents the tools to assess the fire hazard around their homes and has established strategies to start reducing those hazards. FireSmart is a shared responsibility involving all levels of government and participation from the private sector as well as community leaders. This photo shows a neighborhood in Fort McMurray after the 2016 wildfire. Some homes burned, while others did not. Embers or sparks cause a significant proportion of structure ignitions. FireSmart assessments are done to assess both public and private property to determine what can be done to make structures and property more resistant to fire. A key aspect of the FireSmart program is the structural ignition zone, which is comprised of 4 different priority zones. Each zone is assessed separately, and there's judging criteria based on zone proximity, vegetation, and structural building materials, as well as design. Several recommendations within this Community Wildfire Protection Plan address reducing hazards in the structural ignition zone. This report makes a total of 29 recommendations. We'll highlight the high priority recommendations first and at greater detail before having a look at the medium and lower priority items. Recommendations are prioritized based on the relative importance to reducing the likelihood of a wildfire spreading into the community, reducing impacts to critical infrastructure and property, and reduce negative economic and social impacts to the community. Interagency cooperation between the Village of Tahsis and industrial operators within the WUI is necessary to protect the community and its critical infrastructure. Recommended that this CWPP be shared and discussed with forestry companies and BC Hydro for information sharing and awareness. Hopefully, this will lead to collaboration and cooperation. As mentioned earlier, the local wildfire risk assessment shows moderate and high risk within 500 meters of the community. Recommendation 4 identified 4 sites for potential fuel treatment areas. They should be further investigated by qualified professionals. This could lead to the development of site-specific fuel management prescriptions to reduce the risk in these areas. Recommendations 4 and 5 deal with reducing high-risk fuels within the WUI 100. FireSmart hazard assessment should be done to identify what areas are at risk, and then implement FireSmart management activities to improve them. 3 privately owned areas to conduct hazard assessments are the Rugged Mountain Mobile Home Park, Alpine View Road, and the St. Joseph's Church. All publicly owned infrastructure in Tahsis should be assessed, including the Tahsis landfill. Tahsis should offer periodic free alternative waste disposal options, such as free collection and chipping days. This is to encourage homeowners to remove fuel from their yards, which is an alternative to backyard waste burning. This report and maps should be available on the village website, as well as the SRD website. Recommendation 8 looks to bring FireSmart courses directly to the residents of Tahsis. Homeowners should be encouraged to do the free online FireSmart 101 course so that they can begin to understand the program and how to implement it on their own property. The SRD and Tahsis should collaborate to develop a wildfire safety and preparedness pamphlet to distribute to all residents. It can include information on open burning regulation and venting indexes, relevant bylaws, FireSmart principles, and additional BC Wildfire Service informational resources. Tahsis should have an annual fire safety day that is a community event. That day should focus on fire safety equipment checks in residents' homes, fire suppression practice, and even fire department demonstrations and FireSmart activities. This fire safety day could be timed with Fire Prevention Week, which happens annually during the 2nd week of October. To maintain and improve wildfire emergency communication across agency and jurisdictions, recommendation 15 is that annual meetings are held with the BC Wildfire Service, Emergency Management BC, the SRD, and the Tahsis Fire Department. This should be done to build relationships and improve communication in the event of a WUI fire. Recommendation 18 is to reduce the fuel hazard along power line right-of-way or the adjacent substation. The SRD should engage with BC Hydro to communicate the importance of fuel hazard abatement. To improve water availability for fire suppression in isolated areas in Tahsis that does not have fire hydrant coverage, the SRD and Tahsis Fire Department should look to procure a water tanker or a portable bladder to improve water availability. Tahsis only has one land-based evacuation route, which is the Head Bay FSR. To manage and reduce the fuel hazard along the Head Bay right-of-way, brushing and vegetation management should occur regularly. The Tahsis Fire Department should continue to provide training to their members in wildfire suppression, as well as in FireSmart training. To build stronger relationships and knowledge with the British Columbia Wildfire Service, as well as the nearby Gold River Fire Department, Tahsis should coordinate joint annual mock exercises. In these, information and technical practice knowledge are shared. Skills and knowledge are reviewed and practiced as well, and that could include fire line construction, pump operations, sprinkler protection, portable water tank deployment, and wildland hose operations. We will now discuss the 9 medium priority recommendations included in this plan. It is recommended that the village review implementing a bylaw that gives the fire chief specific authority to address fire hazards in the community. This includes the ability to restrict the use of backyard fires, fireworks, and other spark generating items. Communication of fire safety is key in educating the public. Tahsis should engage in increased communication around fire safety through digital methods such as social media and email. They should also continue to use traditional sources such as mail, pamphlets, brochures, and notice boards. It is recommended that a Tahsis-specific wildfire safety and preparedness information fact sheet be distributed annually to residents within the community. A local FireSmart representative should also attend annual community days where they can deliver public education materials. To continually communicate with the public on emergency planning activities, Tahsis should increase awareness around recently completed emergency planning initiatives, such as the evacuation plans and this CWPP that were recently developed. They could even have the public engage in emergency response drill or mock exercise. To ensure the implementation and continual engagement of this report's recommendations, Recommendation 17 is to have annual check-in meetings between the SRD and the Village of Tahsis to monitor and ensure continuous improvement. Recommendation 19 is that Tahsis should promote alternatives to backyard waste burning so that residents are aware there are other options for waste reduction. For areas in Tahsis that are outside hydrant coverage, the feasibility of dry hydrant systems should be explored as a way to improve water availability in the event of a Wildfire. To improve emergency evacuation communications to the community, residents of Tahsis should be encouraged to join the SRD's Connect Rocket. The Connect Rocket is a free service that offers emergency notifications whenever an emergency occurs. Recommendation 28 looks to improve structure protection by having Tahsis engage with Campbell River in a mutual aid agreement. This mutual aid agreement would allow the deployment of structural protection units in specified Wildfire emergencies. Recommendation 29 looks to reduce the likelihood of losing structures from wildfire embers by using sprinkler kits. The Tahsis Fire Department could purchase them, as well as encourage homeowners to buy their own sprinkler kits. These can be set up on the top of homes and roofs as a relatively low-cost method that can be used in extreme wildfire scenarios to save structures. We will now review the 3 low-priority recommendations included in this report. Recommendation 16 suggests teaching fire smart in the schools. Specific educational packages exist for teaching kids. Students will often bring home learning materials to their parents, who can then implement fire smart on their homes. The Tahsis Fire Department has done a great job with volunteer member recruitment and currently has a strong base of around 20 members. Tahsis should continue to recruit members to maintain strong numbers. They should keep current and new members trained in wildland firefighting. Recommendation 28 is to improve equipment availability for structure protection in the event of Wildfires. Tahsis could joint purchase a structural protection unit for shared use with the Gold River Fire Department. To summarize, the area of interest around the village of Tahsis is generally characterized by moderate wildfire risk, with some areas of high within 500 meters of the village. The recommendations focus on key areas of wildfire protection, including fuel treatments, fire smart activities, community awareness and education, and interagency cooperation in improving water availability for fire suppression. For more detailed information, review the Community Wildfire Protection Plan document and associated high-resolution maps. We'd like to thank the following individuals for sharing their time with us through meetings, phone calls, field reviews, and data sharing. Sean Koopman from the SRD for his vision encouragement throughout the project. Mark and Stefan from the Village of Tahsis for meeting with us to share localized information and showing us around the village. Scott Boyd from Western Forest Products for providing LiDAR data that was so helpful in our threat and risk data analysis. We'd also like to thank Ben, Raphael, and Todd from BC Wildfire for providing us insight from a firefighter's perspective. Thank you.